Daf Yomi, Tractate Bava Metzia, page 102b. Top of the page, we were in the middle of a story, so last line of 102a says that an incident occurred in Tzipori, involving one who rented a bathhouse from another, where they stated that the rent would be 12 gold dinars per year, a gold dinar per month. They said per year and per month. And then the year was intercalated. I'm not sure why they didn't see beforehand. Maybe they did that. I don't know. Maybe they were, at the time when they were still, doing the month each month. But anyway, now we're on 102b. This incident came to court before Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel and before Rabbi Yossi, and they said the two expressions have contradictory implications, and it is uncertain which expression should be followed. Therefore, the landlord and the renter should divide the intercalary month between them. In other words, the renter should pay half a gold dinar for it. Okay, because they said pay for the year, 12 gold dinars a year. So that would imply that it doesn't matter whether the month was intercalated or not. It's 12. You're paying for the whole year, and the 12 months per year, and the 12th month gets broken into two, but that's still part of 1 year. On the other hand, they also said a gold dinar per month, and at the end of the day, a 13th month is still a 13th month. So they didn't know what to do, so they just said split it. Sounds fair. I think just in just thinking about this case, it might be good. In those days, it would have probably been good to say if this year becomes intercalated, then you need to pay. Maybe because of this, that would have been something that they would have stipulated in future contracts or whatever. Gemara says, was this an incident cited to contradict the Mishnah's initial ruling? The Gemara explains the latter clause is incomplete. Chasuri Mechsra. Incomplete, and this is what it is teaching. But if the landlord said to the renter that the rent would be 12 gold dinars per year, a gold dinar per month, and then the year was intercalated, the intercalary month should be divided between them. And in addition, an incident like this occurred in Tzipori involving one who rented a bathhouse from another, and they stated that the rent would be 12 gold dinars per year, a gold dinar per month, and then the year was intercalated, and this incident came to court before Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel and before Yossi, and they said the landlord and the renter should divide the intercalary month between them. Rav said, if I had been there as a judge, I would have given the entire month to the landlord and ruled that the renter must pay for it. Rav understood that the statement defining the rent should be understood based on the final expression used, a gold dinar per month. The Gemara asks, what is Rav teaching us? Could he be teaching that when a statement consists of two expressions with a contradictory implications, one should attend only to the last statement? But didn't Rav already say that one time before? As Rav Huna said with regard to a case in which a seller fixed the price for an item using two different expressions that indicate different amounts, and the buyer agreed and took the item, they say in the study hall of Rav that if the seller said in Astera 100 coins, in other words copper prutot, then the buyer must pay him 100 coins, despite the fact that in Asteria is a coin worth 96 prutot. And if the seller said 100 coins in Asteria, the buyer must pay him in Asteria. And it is already apparent from this ruling that Rav holds that one should rule according to the final expression. Why did he restate his opinion with regard to the case of the intercalary month? I don't see what the problem is. I mean, he's just saying L'shitaso. He was just saying what his opinion was. It could be in hundreds of cases. He keeps saying the same opinion. I don't see what the problem is. Anyway, the Gemara explains if Rav's opinion were known from there, I would say that the second expression is explaining the first, and that is the first reason to follow. But one would still not know the halacha in a case in which the second expression undeniably contradicts the first. Therefore, Rav teaches us that in all cases one acts in accordance with the final expression. And Shmuel said in explanation of the ruling of Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel and Rabbi Yossi in the Mishnah, we are dealing with a case where the landlord came before the court in the middle of the month. Only in that case is the disputed month divided between them. But if he came at the beginning of the month, the entire month's rent would be awarded to the landlord. And if he came at the end of the month, the entire month's rent would be awarded to the renter. The reason is that it is uncertain whether or not one would always act in accordance to the final expression, and consequently whether the renter must pay for the extra month. With regard to upcoming days of rental, since the landlord has possession of the property, he can demand rent. And with regard to days that have already passed, where the question is whether the renter must pay for them, since he is in possession of his money, he cannot be made to pay. Shmuel does not hold that only the second statement is followed. The Gemara asks, did Shmuel actually say that we do not say that one should attend only to the last statement? But don't Rav and Shmuel both say, if a seller says to the buyer, I am selling you a core of grain for 30 selah, then he can renege on the sale even while transferring to him the last se'ah of grain, as a core is equal to 30 se'ah. It is apparent that each se'ah is being sold for one selah, but since that breakdown was not made explicit, the sale of the entire core is considered a single entity. Until the entire core has been transferred, the sale does not take effect. If the seller used two expressions, I am selling a core of grain for 30 selah, a se'ah per selah, then the buyer acquires each of the 30 se'ah of grain one by one immediately upon each being transferred to him, and the seller cannot renege on the sale of any se'ah that has taken place, although the implications of the seller's two expressions are contradictory. Shmuel rules that one should act in accordance with the final expression. The Gemara explains, there in the case of the grain, Shmuel's ruling was not due to the fact that we attend to the final expression, since it is uncertain whether or not we do. Rather, what is the reason for his ruling? It is due to the fact that the buyer has already taken hold of the grain and consequently has presumptive ownership of it. Here, too, in the case of the bathhouse, each party is holding on to the basis of his claim. In other words, the landlord has possession of his property and the renter has possession of his money, and it is only due to this reason that Shmuel rules as he does. And Rav Nachman said, I would have ruled that since the halacha is that land is always in its owner's possession, even when rented out, the landlord is entitled to the entire month's rent. The Gemara asks, what is Rav Nachman teaching us? Could his ruling be based on saying that one should attend only to the last statement? But then this is identical to the ruling of Rav. The Gemara clarifies Rav Nachman's ruling is unlike Rav's, as Rav Nachman would award the extra month to the landlord even where the order of the two expressions is reversed. Rather, as he explained, His ruling is based on the fact that the landlord has possession of the property. The sages raised a dilemma before Avyanai. If a renter says to his landlord, I already gave the rental fee to you, and the landlord says, I did not take any payment from you, upon whom is the burden of proof? The sages raised a dilemma before Avyanai. If a renter says, that's pretty nogea, I would say. Pretty relevant. The Gemara clarifies the dilemma. When did the renter make this claim? If it was during his rental period, we already learned the halacha in this case, and the sages would not have asked about it. Similarly, if it was after the rental period, we already learned the halacha in that case as well. As we learned in the Mishnah, in Bechorot 49a, a father is obligated to redeem his firstborn son after the son is 30 days old by paying 5 shekels to a priest. If the father died within 30 days of the birth, the son has the presumptive status of being unredeemed until he brings proof that he was redeemed. If he died after 30 days, the son has the presumptive status of being redeemed until people tell him that he was not redeemed. It is apparent from this Mishnah that a person is presumed not to pay money before he must, and he is presumed to have paid money once he is required to do so. This logic can be applied to the paying of a rental fee. The Gemara explains, no, it is necessary to raise the dilemma in a case where the renter makes his claim on the day on which the rental period is completed. The dilemma is whether a person is apt to pay his debts on the very day on which the period is in which to pay them is completed, or he is not. Rabbi Yochanan said to them also this. That's a very, very valid. That's a very, very. You know what I mean? It's on Bava Metzia 102. Gem 102. Gem 102. Mm-hmm.